So I thought I'd retest the 1080 Ti again. Hey up everyone, how's it going? And in today's video we are testing my GTX 1080 Ti in 2021. I did one not too long ago in about October, November last year, but since then I've changed a lot of my testing methodology, so we're not just doing 1440p ultra wide today, we're doing 1080p and 1440p. I haven't got any 4K figures today because if you've got a 1080 Ti you shouldn't really be playing at 4K, especially in newer games. It's not too great at 4K, but as we'll find from the results, 1080p still got many more years to come out of the 1080 Ti, and 1440p is looking pretty decent as well. Launching back at the start of 2017, which is 4 years ago now, the 1080 Ti was the king of the Pascal lineup from Nvidia. And the 1080 Ti was megally overkill for the time. It had 3,584 CUDA cores and 11GB of GDDR5X memory, which was only 1GB less than the Titan at the time. And this thing also comes with SLI support for the 2 people on Earth which are actually still using SLI. And yeah, I wish SLI was still a thing. Please bring it back in video, it was just so good. But yeah, I'm waffling. And Nvidia recommend a 600 watt power supply to juice this thing up. I'd recommend probably a 650 watt power supply for the more higher end models because they have higher wattage draw and stuff like that. Yeah, higher wattage draw. Speaking about high end models, my specific model is the Asus Strix 11G OC, whatever Asus code it has. Basically it's the high end Strix model, and yeah, this is one of the highest 1080 Ti models you can actually get. This and probably the For the Win cards from EVGA, and I believe the Kingpin card as well. My specific card will boost to over 1900 MHz on the core clock, which is stupidly high. That is higher than what the Asus factory spec is, because they put on an overclock from the factory, and I believe its GPU boost is pushing that over 1900 MHz, which is pretty fast. So today I've lined up 8 games to benchmark my 1080 Ti at both 1440p and 1080p. All testing is done on my personal gaming rig with a Ryzen 9 3950X, 32GB of Corsair Dominator Platinum running at 2666 MHz, and an 850 watt power supply to juice it all up. I finally had the chance to test Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and at both resolutions with the very high preset, the 1080 Ti did pretty well. At 1080p we got 73 FPS on average. As for 1440p, the 1080 Ti pushed out 59 FPS on average. However, these settings aren't the most optimised, and I'd recommend watching through hardware unbox optimisation videos to get the best sweet spot between quality and performance. Getting into Cyberpunk 2077 now, and at 1080p on the high preset, the 1080 Ti squeezed out 69 FPS. And playing at 1440p lowered the average to 47 FPS. It seems that CDPR is starting to slowly optimise the game slightly, as this performance isn't too bad all things considered. It wouldn't be a Pro Yam Yam graphics card benchmark without GTA 5 on the list. And at 1080p, the 1080 Ti bagged 131 FPS on average. At 1440p, the 1080 Ti performed well again, gaining 107 FPS on average. GTA 5 will pretty much run on anything modern, and it still looks pretty great even in 2021. On to Call of Duty Warzone now. With it being very popular, I've decided to keep it on the benchmarking roster. With an average of 118 FPS at 1080p with a high preset, the 1080 Ti did very well here, and at 1440p performance was still quite impressive with 96 FPS on average. I did observe some stutter while I was benchmarking, but to be fair, that was when I was jumping out of the plane and the game is installed on a hard drive, so normal gameplay is just going to be fine, no issues there. Next up is Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a very hard game to run, but it looks incredible. Running on the first favourite performance preset at 1080p on the Vulkan API, the 1080 Ti squeezed out 67 FPS on average, and at 1440p that average drops to 52 FPS. Again, I'd recommend following hardware unboxed optimisation video for Red Dead Redemption 2 to get that sweet spot between quality and performance. Next up is F1 2020, and always expect really good frame rates from this game. At 1080p on the very high preset, the 1080 Ti averaged 141 FPS. 1440p performance was also very impressive at 116 FPS on average. No surprises here, F1 always performs really great. Doom Eternal makes its debut today for my benchmarking list, and it always produces very high frame rates and is optimised incredibly well. At 1080p on the Ultra Nightmare preset, the 1080 Ti produced 185 FPS on average, and at 1440p the average was 148 FPS. Doom is just incredibly easy to run. Last game up today is Forza Horizon 4, and at ultra settings with 4x MSAA at 1080p, the 1080 Ti pushed out 115 FPS on average. For 1440p the average dropped down to 95 FPS. Forza performed really well here, it scales pretty nicely with this hardware. Benchmarking overview. This thing is still really good in 2021. This thing is 4 years old now, so there's really impressive 1080p results and really impressive 1440p results as well. And they fall in line with what I'd probably expect. There is some stuttering, and I believe that's not down to the graphics card. I believe that's down to some of these games being installed on a mechanical hard drive. I simply don't have the SSD space. This can be fixed by putting your favourite games on an SSD, but to be honest, the stuttering wasn't too noticeable, it wasn't too bad, so it's if it's bad for you or not. With all that out of the way, in 2021 the GTX 1080 Ti is still a very powerful and a very capable graphics card. Yeah, it lacks some features like DLSS and RTX for the two people that actually care about real-time ray tracing, but yeah, it's still powerful for normal rasterization performance. 1080p is really good, you're still very good playing at 1080p for another couple more years to come. 1440p for now as well is really quite good, it's just good. So, would I recommend the 1080 Ti in 2021? Should you buy this graphics card? No. You shouldn't buy any graphics card right now because the market is ruined, it's screwed. Don't buy anything, and I know I'm going on a rant, but I've made a rant and it's going to be in a video either there or there, wherever YouTube puts it, discussing about how bad the GPU market is right now. With that being said, if you've got a friend which is willing to sell you a 1080 Ti for a decent price, or you're still rocking one in your rig, I can't recommend this graphics card enough if you can get it for a good price, which you probably can't because the market is so bad. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. So if you like the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. And subscribe for future content. And I'll catch you in the next one.